we started this course, not the previous course on, where you get teaching, you learn some stuff, like just pretty blandly learn information. Some contemplate, think about it on the train and home, think of how it would work, and then gone, internalize it, deepen your insight into it. So we've been trying to Sangam, the verses that we read, to try and internalize the things that you all talked about. And some of them hit really nicely, some of them really connected. So remember that that's what we're doing. So the first question, if you have the finals in front of you, I don't care if you fill in the answer now, but try in your mind to test your, try and test your memory first, and then you'll know yours 30% missing, 80% missing, 0%, 100% missing in that answer. I'm just going to go through the questions in the exam. So feel free to write the answers now as we're discussing them. I'm going to read the question, you're going to go, do I know that? I know some of that. And then that's a good thing to know your gap, because then you know what you need to work on. And next to the question, maybe you'll write, I want to remember this, or I better learn up on this, or I'll go for that. So just off the top of your head, give me the root text we're studying in English, in Sanskrit, the year it was written, and the author.
Bodhisattva Charter, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, written by National Bodhisattvas, 780.
Cool. That's because we drilled it over and over every class, right? And the previous course. That's awesome. So then, that's the root text. That's actually the verses that we read out. Then we are interpreting those verses. Some of them are pretty, what's the word when they're in code? They're
obscure.
Terrible.
Terrible? Is it?
Terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible, yeah.
Convoluted. No, not convoluted.
They're in code or something, almost, right? Unless you know, then you don't know what the code means.
Esoteric.
Esoteric, fair enough. So then we are using a commentary to explain. So none of these is made up by Hector or Geshe Michael or Ken Rinpoche or Trijang Rinpoche. All of these are commentaries upon commentaries that of the root text, and the commentary that's most famous and deepest on this in this lineage is
Entry point.
It's called Entry Point
For
the children
of the
of the victorious Buddhas. Good.
Entry point for the children of victorious Buddhas.
By
Gyatso.
Gyatso Je, who was one of the prime disciples of Je Tsongkhapa, 1300 and something, right?
64 to 1432.
Okay. So this commentary, the explanation of how to interpret these things, was written by that master. Yeah. What's the children of the victorious Buddhas?
Bodhisattva.
Why are they children?
Because they've had a direct perception of bodhicitta.
Because they're going to grow up.
Because what? When they grow up, they become Buddhas.
Buddha when you grow up.
Yeah, cool. Okay, what's the entry point metaphor? Why is it called entry point for the Bodhisattvas? Entry point for the beings that have this deep compassion, uncontrived compassion for all sentient beings. They have practiced this information, they've turned it on, it's now oozing out of them as a reality. They are the Bodhisattvas. Why is this called the entry point for those beings?
Is that the direct perception?
Is it the wish for enlightenment?
That's what bodhicitta is, the wish for enlightenment for the sake of other living beings. But why would he call it the entry point? It was just a Tibetan thing. When you're trying to cross a river, remember? You guys did it.
You get the shortest path, right?
You look for the shortest path across a body of water because some of the rivers, and you guys failed, yeah. You didn't try. In Nepal. When you go there, some of the rivers are really wide, open, rocky expanses, and when it's rainy season, it's just a flood. So you're looking for the closest point where you can enter, yeah. So this is like the shortest way to get bodhicitta, the shortest way to get things. So that's the point. Okay, cool. The next question. So you can, if you did that well, you can answer it on the first question in your final. The next question is about describe the principal problem of anger that we cannot see. So there's lots of problems we can see about getting angry with people, but this text is saying, if you think anger is bad because it destroys your relationships with people, it messes up situations for you, you say the things you can't take back, and it causes all these real problems you can see, then what are the problems we cannot see?
Destroys.
Yep, sorry.
It destroys the accumulation of merit.
Yep, it destroys if it's directed at a Bodhisattva, right? So in practical terms, if you are feeling anger towards something out there and you just want to lash out at it because you are the source of my angst, yeah? If that is directed at a Bodhisattva, these writings say it completely destroys, or it destroys thousands of eons of good karma, yeah? That storehouse of virtue, if it's directed at a Bodhisattva, a small section. How can you tell who's a Bodhisattva?
Yeah, my
No,
question.
can't.
Right? So you can't tell who's a Bodhisattva. So it's another cognitive dissonance thing to get your mind in a place. Dave?
I just want to share a little 30-second anecdote.
Sure. Yeah.
So I've always loved that idea that you can't tell who a bodhisattva is, but I've also sort of been a little bit about the whole thing. It's like you can tell, if you're going to meet someone who's like Jesus, you're going to tell, you know?
Yeah.
But I've recently been watching these interviews online with people who have had an awakening type of experiences, and these are people who speak this stuff as if it were true to them.
Yeah.
And they're the most normal people. And one's a locksmith, and this guy's he literally talks like this. And then he's and the guy was what do you do now that you're totally awakened? And he's I still do locks. It's just normal, totally normal guy. So it really did make me take this more seriously.
Yeah, awesome. Like that.
I always had a problem with that because I was always thinking each time, yes, but Bodhisattva is very skillful, so why he would know that he makes someone angry?
Yeah.
So
Or
why?
she.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Why a Bodhisattva wouldn't do anything that would make someone angry?
Yeah. Would they do something to make someone angry, or would they do something to wake someone up?
To wake someone up, yeah.
And if your impulse is to get angry or because someone's trying to wake you up, can you blame the Bodhisattva?
Yeah.
But the Bodhisattva should
No.
They should
I'm
know
just
that.
saying. But also, Bodhisattva is not omniscient, so they
can know what's in your head.
they can't know for sure exactly
Depends
how.
which level of Bodhisattva.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends because
But
some
Mostly
Hey,
correct.
Bodhisattvas are
wait.
good as
Yeah.
manifested.
But doesn't anger destroy merit, whether it's directed to a Bodhisattva or
Thank
any
you.
being?
Yeah, thank you.
Even an animal.
Yeah.
Or bug.
Yeah. It destroys your peace of mind, right? It completely destroys your peace of mind. It's saying thousands of eons of karma is destroyed if it's directed at a Bodhisattva, so extreme over there. And then the stuff we can see is the nominal thing and everything in between. So the point is, which we'll cover more and more as we go through the thing, is anger, it will not serve you at all, right? Do you want to read the verse so we remember the verse 1?
C1.
Yeah. I just want to do this so as we're doing the answers, you guys can remember what Master Shantara is saying. Yeah.
A single instance of anger destroys whatever good deeds you may have amassed in thousands of eons spent in practices like giving or making offerings to those who have gone to bliss. There is no kind of deed as evil as the act of anger. There is no spiritual hardship like patience. Practice it then. Concentrate on patience in many different ways.
Cool. So it's the ultimate obstacle to all joy and goodness and every good thing that can come from the path. So as soon as you recognize that that's what it is, the seen and the unseen, then the rest of the chapter and everything we should do is to remove that from our lives regardless, to within our capacity to start with, and then until it's completely obliterated. Anger will not get you, he's explaining, anger will not get you the result you're looking for. Yeah? I don't want to slow down. unless it's really important.
But he says the act of anger. What about the thought of anger? Is that an act?
Yeah, act of body, speech, or mind. Yeah. No. Okay, quote from memory the lines that describe the immediate cause of anger and the usefulness of this cause. So, before you read it, can anybody remember 2 verses?
If you can do something about it, fix it. If you can't do something about it, don't get upset about it.
Great, so upset is the cause that he's saying, right? He says if you can do something about it, what's the point of being upset? Upsetness is the thing that feeds into anger. And if there isn't anything, what's the point of being upset? Right? And at the beginning of the verse he says,
Anger feeds on the food of feeling upset, then strengthened, turns to smash me.
keep going. Sorry.
And so then I will smash the sustenance that feeds this enemy of mine. My foe knows no other kind of work at all except to cause me pain. No matter what happens, I will never allow my joy to be disturbed. Feeling upset cannot accomplish my hopes. It only makes me lose the goodness that I have. If there's something you can do about it, why should you feel upset? If there's nothing you can do about it, what use is being upset?
So basically he's saying, what we've studied is anger is your enemy. Don't think it helps you. Yeah? Every time you put out a crumb of upsetness, it comes ravenously to feed off of it and gets bigger and stronger and stronger and stronger in you. He's saying starve it to death. He's being quite clear about the thing that leads you to get angry. Any small disturbances, any annoyances, anything upsetting, cut it at the root before it gets time to grow into the monster. And they grow quickly. They feed like quickly. So that's that one. I don't want to go there, I want to go here. Yeah. Unless it's really, and then.
Well, I mean, I've been defending anger lately.
Uh-huh.
I feel like my thing was, it helps me focus.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you say?
Yeah, I think don't call it anger. I think you look at the prana, the energy that is moving you to action, yeah? And as soon as you think it's anger, that just leads you more, gives you more validation to do whatever associations in your consciousness you have around anger. Anger is okay to yell, anger is okay to punch, anger is, eventually anger can be okay for war, you know? So the labeling, getting to the subtleness of whatever prana is moving, whatever energy is moving into your body that causes that action, then look at it for what it is rather than labeling it as anger. If it is anger, if you are feeling anger, don't feed it. Yeah? And you have a practice. Yeah. Okay, this is not in there, but what's the antidote that can prevent the course of anger? What's the antidote? I want you to think about it. It was in one of the classes, but I thought it was important, even though it's not on the thing. If anger is such a thing, right, that really it does destroy any goodness you have. Doesn't matter how much goodness. I mean, you could be in a palace, and if you're angry, it's a jail. Yeah. What's the antidote?
The last time this came up, you said it was being upset, but
Yeah.
I thought, and it came up later, patience. So I'm still...
No, the antidote, I'm saying.
Not
The
making other
antidote to
people
anger.
angry.
Yes.
Not making other people angry.
I thought it was joy.
It is joy. Yeah, according to Master Indo, it's joy. It's being happy. Yeah, developing the happy. And then we went into this whole convoluted thing about even faking it. You know, going, I'm not letting upsetness or anger or anything like that come in because I remember that state of joy that I had when I was playing with the kids or doing whatever. And here comes not an external element to make me angry, but here comes my enemy from within to say, here is anger and I'm occupying your body. It's like internal rape, yeah? It's disgusting. It's like all of a sudden inside of you is this thing that feels justified to think and blame, think completely self-existently. It blames out there, it points to all the sources of your problems. is completely the opposite of what it really is. It's saying, you are now the source of this, therefore I could be angry at you. I don't have to be responsible for what's occurring in me. Yeah.
I had a friend who was screaming at me quite loud, regularly. And at one point I asked, why are you doing this? And the answer was, because it feels good.
Yes.
How come anger feels good?
Does it feel good?
I don't know, because it wasn't me. I don't have
Yeah.
that perception.
Does it feel good? I think I know when people, I mean, there's therapies, and the therapies in the 80s where you're allowed to punch your pillow or something, you know, and go rage, and yeah. What is it about that feels good?
Self-righteousness?
I don't know.
I think what Glenn said, the focused clarity that comes
One
things
point
that
of
you have.
concentration?
Maybe.
Seems like just an indulgence. Like you kind of feel sick after it. Well, for me at least, it's like indulging. It's like eating junk food. Like it's okay for the first 2 seconds, and then you're like, oh, what did I just do?
Yes.
And then you like self-loathe afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I like those answers. I understand that. It feels good to have the release, yeah? And it's like, I'll let go, I'll eat the whole cake. But when you analyze it, for me at least, I don't know about each of you individually, when I have done that and I've felt the joy of getting screaming or blaming or whatever it is like I've stopped being human for a second. And I've just allowed my complete animal nature, or my whatever, the uncontrolled, uncivilized, unrespectful, disrespectful, no regard for another creature. At least, like, it means that there is something in me that is not uncultured, what's the word? It's untamed. You know, it's this, that uncivilized, yeah, that the ignorance in me, is that part of the ignorance that gets released at that time. It's like, you can go running free now. I can hate on you, and I can hate on you, and oh my God, I haven't been let out of that cage for such a long time. Yeah? And then when you realize what it is that it's doing, ravenously eating up all these beautiful things in your world, then you have the sense of, oh my God, that's me. And so you get this regret. At least that's my experience of it. I'm sure there's 1,000 theories why it would feel good. Karmically, why would it feel good?
It's not the anger that's making you feel good. If you're actually feeling good.
If you're actually feeling pleasure,
Okay.
as you're screaming at someone, like, oh, I've got him.
It's not the anger that feels good, it's the cessation of the anger that there's relief in. It's like putting your hand on a hot radiator, and all of a sudden you want to take it away. When you take it away, it goes, well, you're freezing cold, you stand by a fire, you warm up. It's the cessation of the pain. It's having a taste of food when you're starving. It's that cessation of the hunger.
So like the yelling.
I like that.
Yeah, I got a better one.
Yeah.
It's like you really have to go to the bathroom. It's not such a pleasurable thing, but it's the release.
It's
and
the
that's
release.
what you remember.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it was pleasurable, people would pay to get me angry, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not the case.
But
So
sometimes
you're saying that
when-
the yelling releases the anger?
No, I'm
No,
saying
no.
that anger is an unpleasant experience. It's so unpleasant that the stopping of it, when you could say, why do you do it? He goes, oh, because I like it. It's what he's not. His likes is the release that comes afterwards of the stuff. It's like hot eating chili peppers. It's the same kind of response. The chili peppers are not so pleasure, but it releases that afterwards.
That's cool.
Sometimes
It is endorphins.
we need to communicate with something very important, and only through anger some people can communicate also.
I think it's like an instant gratification kind of thing, and if you can channel that, if you need a release or all of that energy into something positive, then you feel better, and you're also getting rid of that feeling.
It's funny because every time we talk about this topic, like whether it's in class or it was also in Geshe Michael's class or whenever we discuss anger, we tend to want to hold on to it or justify it. Yeah. And I think that's part of the blindness we have about staying put as cyclic existence, not knowing what it does to us, you know, having to go through all these discussions of going, like, that you could associate pleasure to it, and if you are having pleasure, it must mean that you are having a ripening of karma that was caused by pleasure, yeah, disconnected to what you're actually doing in the moment. The cause of that pleasure didn't come from the yelling, it came from something you did previously that must have been positive, yeah. Now, if your experience that your yelling is causing somebody else pain, even though you're feeling pleasure while it's doing it, you then must necessarily have the results of pain upon you at some later time caused by that moment of anger. Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time on it because of time, and we've got 27 questions, we're up to 3. Yeah. And we're doing the next one, the rest of the course of the 27 we're doing next class without the intro. So we'll have time, but I do want to get a little bit deeper into the first course, which is, we're on what chapter are we on if we're discussing anger?
Patience.
Great, because the translation is patience, but it means not getting angry, meaning not getting angry when you normally would. This whole chapter is about stopping anger, full stop. If you get the basics of karma, the very basics, without going too much into it, that your world is nothing but a projection from your mind onto this data that has no nature, is empty from its own side. And the only way you are forced to experience it is through the lens of whatever's in your consciousness. If you have anger in there, you must experience anger. And that's a suffering. So there is no room for anger in enlightenment. There is no room for anger in a state of mind, still forced upon you by your projections, that says everything is a bliss and you have 0 mental afflictions. Nothing disturbs your mind. There's nothing disturbing. Everything is bliss. If that's what your mind is doing as you are a Buddha, as you are reaching enlightenment, if that's what's being projected from the impulses of your mind that you've been planting over time, right, with the 5 paths and whatever, then anger can't be in there. That's why it's like gone, like there's no anger. Impossible to have anger under any justification and experience the world blissfully, as peaceful. Doesn't work. Yeah. So that's that. So the preventative measure is to build joy. Like, just get happy. And you know, when you're in a state of joy and you're really, really happy and things are going just well, and you're in that zone, like you're describing that zone before, you're in that zone that you know your